All right, so we got your video here synced up to the moment of release. We'll let it play through here and pause it at that moment of foot strike like we have in the past. Excuse me. Uh, we got a lot of good things happening. Get this out of our way here. We got a lot of good things happening here when it comes to our bodies drift down the mound, collecting energy with our lower body, and then getting it rotated and ready to send up to our upper half. Um, like we have mentioned before, we got this big kind of tilt in our back. We're kind of tilting backwards a bit, which then just sets the plane of which our shoulders are going to want to rotate around. And like we saw in the couple clips I got from behind from you that day, we can just see how much our upper body is tilted and where that then puts our hand at release. And if that's 12 o'clock and we come down here to 6, and then obviously 9 and 3, 10 and 11, you're almost at like 11:30 with that arm slot. But if we got your entire body to just get more vertical and having your chin more stacked above your foot rather than your chin right now being stacked over nothing, if we could get that bad boy that way some, excuse me, and even like where your shoulder is right now, if we could have our chin right there, that would take our entire body's posture and tilt it, right? Like if I did the same thing like I did over here with 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and I do that with a 1 o'clock and a 2 o'clock, and we say like right now, you're a lot closer to like that 2 o'clock tilt. And if we just brought you even just 1 hour counterclockwise and had that head over here, that would drop this down 1 hour as well, right? So, like we were talking about during that practice, we can think of helping ourselves make this adjustment one of two ways. We can either think of just throwing sidearm, right? If you just think sidearm, that's probably going to keep you more stacked upright. Or we can think about trying to keep our chin more over top of our front leg, and the result of that would be a lower slotted release. But all in all, that's really the only thing we really need to clean up this year is just that. And then everything else is just going to be messing with grips to make things move as much as possible and be as consistent in the zone when we want to be in the zone, and being able to expand outside the zone when it's time to expand outside the zone. We got your two clips synced up here to the moment of release. We can see here at that moment of foot strike, we're pretty much checking every box. Lower half, nice and fired towards the target with a front leg in a position that we're going to be able to be strong and lock that thing out and rotate aggressively around in a very consistent way. We got this glove working its way right into ourselves, keeping our chin over our shoulders so we're nice and closed off with that upper half, helping create that really good upper lower half separation, or the separation of the shoulders from the hips. We get this arm loaded up in a great position, ready to fire around with the chest's rotation and extension out towards our target. And we can see as we then get into release, all that energy is continuing to come through our lane here, extending ourselves out with that ball just coming out of our fingers, just out in front of that front foot, giving ourselves that great extension and being able to then continue to accelerate our energy down as we continue to get further out in front with our reach. We got those hips coming through. We got the shoulders finishing nice and well. We got the nice little recoil of the chest. The chest comes through, and then bam, bam, bam. That little recoil right there adds that little bam, whip action in there. And then we can see those hips continuing its finish all the way around as those eyes stay nice and locked in on our target. I mean, real good, dude. We're looking strong. We're aggressive. We got this good flow going down the mound. That's what's up. We're going to get right after pitch grips, making things move, getting things sharp and nasty. It's going to be a fun winter for you, man. All right, my man. We got your two clips synced up to the moment of release. I'm going to pause this one at that moment of that front foot getting in the ground. And what I want to mention is we got this good drift going down the mound with that leg coming up and that body already starting to want to get going. If we feel like we are really using our legs well, then we don't even really need to think about what I'm going to discuss next. But if you don't think that you feel your legs really get involved in your throw, what I want you to think about and work on is as we're going with this leg starting to come down when our body really starts to get going forward. So bam, right here, right here, right here. And we can see that our hips start to load by going in a downward movement. We can see that downward movement, that load in our back leg is kind of just a little guy. If we can continue that load a little bit longer, a little bit deeper, a little more, as our body continues to go down this mound, we may find that we can use our legs more with our throw. But if you feel like you are already using your legs a lot and you can actively feel them doing aggressive movements for you, then you are in a deep enough loaded position. Now, the real thing that I want us to see here is how we kind of have this little bit of this falling forward. We have a lot of weight kind of falling towards the target. Yes, the back hip continues to go around. It's still going around, but instead of a lot of that energy being finishing, we're rotating, boom, the throw. Instead of the rotation continuing to go this way, we're getting that rotation to come here. We're making that throw, and then now it's kind of just going this way, into the camera. And we got this heavy kind of bam, bam. We can even see on the side view how the camera shakes right there. And that's right on the impact of your leg kind of shaking the ground a little bit, right where the tripod was sitting. We would think, or we would rather that heavy hit, if there was a heavy hit with that back leg, it be more over here on the mound still, on the mound still, versus falling forward towards the catcher off the mound. So we just want to think about finishing our rotation. And we're going to be able to achieve that if once our front leg gets firm and locks out, it stays that way. Because we can't rotate aggressively around something if that something all of a sudden breaks. Now we're going to go in a different way, right? That's why once that leg gets in the ground and we have that angle, boom, we lock that angle out. So now everything can just whip around like a tether ball. But if that tether ball is starting to whip around and all of a sudden the pole snaps in half, the ball's not going to keep its momentum going the way we want it to. So we got to think, once that front leg gets in the ground and it starts to lock out like you do, it's got to stay that way, because once it bends and buckles, we're going to fall in front of it versus rotating around it. Okay, we got your 2 videos here synced up to the moment of release that you can watch here a couple times. Oh. What we're going to notice is at the moment that that front foot gets into the ground, we do a good job of keeping the head on the target, keeping it right over that shoulder so it's not opening up. We can see that lower body is really rotating and getting itself going to the target. And then we see that upper body wanting to continue its rotation out in front and bringing things through and around. One thing I want you to think about and consider trying is shortening up our stride a little bit. I feel like we're getting into a really maybe aggressively wide for maybe your body height and current strength of your lower half. One of the things that is making me think that is that it's just looks to be in here. We're really reaching with the front leg. See how we kind of kick it right there? Kind of kick it as we're, instead of just kind of rotating that front leg, right? Obviously, like if this is our foot going this way, instead of just rotating it as it goes forward, you're almost kind of like kicking it as it goes forward. We're kind of kicking it. And to me, that kind of looks like you're wanting to really reach that leg out there rather than just letting your whole body go out there. So something that we can think about is don't be so quick to reach this front leg way out in front of you. Allow your body to travel with this leg still staying back, right? Boom, it's already forward. It's staying back. It's still back. It's starting to get neutral. It's neutral, and now it's starting to get forward. And all during that time, our body doesn't really go forward towards the target all that much. So that front leg is really getting out away from you a little quick. So I think if we instead think about shortening up that stride a little bit, or like I said, keeping that front leg closed and back for a longer period, a longer duration of which your body is going forward towards that target, I think could be something that helps you get a little bit more power in your pitches. Because everything else in your delivery is looking very good. All right, we got your 2 videos here synced up to the moment of release. what we're going to do here on the second time through is we're going to pause it for a moment at that time our front foot gets into the ground. So again, once this front foot is getting into the ground is the moment in time that we are pausing this. Bam. At this point in time, we can see your lower body is doing a good job rotating and it getting itself away from that pitching rubber. You see that front side is getting into a position that we're going to be able to be strong and sturdy so that the upper body can rotate violently and aggressively around. Now what we are able to see here at this, again, moment that that front foot, boom, gets into the ground, we can see that the upper half has begun to rotate. And what we want to think about is our lower half rotates first, front leg gets in the ground, upper half rotates around. So foot down, then throw. Another way to think about this would be in hitting, we would never want to start the swing of the upper half to occur until we take that stride with our front foot. We wouldn't want to be striding with that front foot in the air still and starting to swing and rotate our upper half around. However, that's kind of what's happening here with your shoulders starting to rotate forward before that front foot's even in the ground and putting your body in a position that it's ready to make a throw from. So we need to learn and train our upper body how to wait and stay back more in this type of position in alignment and stay there until that front foot gets all the way into the ground. And we can see at this point in time, which would be a good spot for the upper body to be at, the heel has just begun to get in the ground. And it's not until that front foot's all the way in the ground are we now ready to throw, but our upper body has already begun some rotation, meaning we are losing some power. We are adding some stress onto the arm because the arm is going to try to make up from that lack of power by working on its own versus harnessing the body's power and just shooting that throw out from behind all that power. So some things we can do to help keep these shoulders back longer, and back meaning this way from not rotating this way. We can keep these shoulders back longer by finding a way to keep the glove from wanting to finish as quickly or as early as it currently is. Your glove's path is good. Your glove's finish is good. It's just occurring a little early. And when it occurs just that little early, we can see how that front shoulder starts to open, which pulls and brings that back shoulder along. So if we can find a way to what I like to call ride this out, if we can try to ride this glove, this forearm out in this pathway here for longer, before it gets into this lane over here, the longer it'll be before this back shoulder will want to come through. So we can see you're riding that forearm out, you're riding it out, you're riding it out, you're riding it out, and now we're starting to bring it out of that lane. If we can keep it in this lane for a little bit longer, then when that front foot gets into the ground, our shoulders will be more here rather than here. All right, man, we got your two videos synced up here to the moment of release. We're going to play this a second time. We're going to pause it at the moment our front foot gets in the ground so we can talk about a couple things here. We do a real good job of getting this lower half to fire, rotate, and get itself going down that mound. all while our upper body is fighting to stay chin over shoulder, nice in line with that front side. This has put us in a position where our upper and lower halves are separating nice and well, creating that tension throughout our body that we can then snap on through with a good tight upper half rotation while we continue to gain ground out in front during that rotation. So we can see that upper body is starting in a spot as such, and then as it goes into its rotation, we can see how it's getting a good job extending out in front, using that trunk coming through to help accelerate that power. And we can then see from that front view how that extension out in front is fighting to stay in that good lane right towards the target, and we're not getting it to leak out to the side, which then would sling energy away from our intended target. One thing that I would like to bring to your attention is this front leg here. Once we get that front leg in the ground, it's now turned our 2 feet and our legs into our base. And I want you to think, if you had just the biggest machine gun ever and it was on a tripod and you're sitting there and one of the legs in that tripod was shorter than the other 2 legs, you may be able to like balance it out before you shoot that machine gun, but as soon as you start to fire that machine gun, between the recoil and the chaos, if that tripod is just that one leg is just 1 inch off, we're all over the place. But if we can not only get all 3 of those tripod legs even, but then we like anchor them into the ground, we can just let that machine gun just rip, and it's going to hold a lot more steady. When we're making this throw here, we want to think that same thing with this front leg, and we can kind of see there's just a lot of stuff going on with it, especially with that line that was originally over this here. If we can find a way to keep this right where it's at, or do what a lot of guys do, which is locking it out or straightening that leg, because now it's a lot easier to keep in place here versus trying to keep a bend as our body goes out in front and tries to rotate around it. If we can get that a little bit firmer and straighter, things are going to increase and improve for us very quickly. So if we just kind of watch again, and I'll put this here, and then from the beginning, let ourselves roll through that and just see from the moment that it fits in there how much it's moving after. And if we can find a way for that to be more firm, more strong, our throws are only going to get more firm and more strong. So there's a lot of lead leg stability and strengthening for you, because everything else looks very good, very strong, and repeatable. All right, big homie. Got our video synced up here to the moment of release. We'll let it roll through here uninterrupted for you, so you can always just go back and check that part out. Excuse me. We're going to pause this time at foot strike. We can see lower half's doing a real good job of trying to get things fired and rotated out in front of us, while at the same time our upper body is fighting to stay back and closed, maximizing that separation between our hips and our shoulders, or that upper and lower half. You can see that glove is doing a good job trying to stay inside of our body, so that way our front shoulder doesn't want to open and leak energy outside, but instead stay right up against that wall so we can rotate everything forward versus having things opening up as we're trying to not fly and fling that thing out to the side. The one thing I will say is that this elbow may be a little low at this point in time. Oops, that's not the greatest line. Traditionally, usually we're looking for something a little closer in this area for that elbow, if not right there for that elbow. So as we have that delivery continue to get outside of, foot strike, we can just notice how that arm is having to kind of accelerate up, and then it's going to try to get out in front. All right. So we have a high arm slot. Nothing wrong with that, right? It's a high 3/4 arm slot. So if we're going to have a high 3/4 arm slot, I think it's going to be in your best interest in terms of just arm health and command repeatability if our arm is loaded up just a little bit higher to begin. A little bit closer to 90 degrees in that armpit versus this 85, 80 degree bend that we have rolling instead. So what we would think about is, like right here, bam, we already got that elbow in that good height right here. So as we continue to load that arm, what we're going to notice is that hand is not really flipping up, right? It's back here right now. Push this further back so we can hopefully see. It's back here right now with me going obviously that way with the throw. And then instead of the hand popping up into external or getting up to be ready to lay back into external, we can see from here that it's more of the elbow going down that gets the hand to appear to be up. But if we just stop it right here where I have that circle already around the ball, and then we do it again here, right? It's up a little bit, but it didn't go up all that much. If we went back and kind of marked, okay, when that ball is right there again, and we mark the elbow's position, and then we do that again with the ball being in that circle, and we can see that the difference between the ball starting position here and where it got to here only went up a little bit, but where the elbow started that movement and where it went down a lot. So your arm isn't really loading up, your elbow is dipping down, and now your arm is loaded. So now as you go to throw, everything's got to get back up. So we want to think as this arm is coming back and this hand is getting up, get the hand up, don't drop the elbow down to have the illusion that the hand went up. Other than that, everything else is looking real good, dude. The head has been a good progression of continuing to work on staying there, fighting that urge to want it to fly with your rotation's energy. It's looking much improved and on the right path. All right, let your video play here. See what you look like with those two angles synced up to release. Pausing ourselves at that moment of foot strike. Again, it's when that front foot gets itself, bam, into that ground. And we can kind of see our upper body is wanting to start to come through, maybe just a little quick, just a little early. We're starting to let this front shoulder fly open a bit. And that then exposes that throwing arm a little early. And then as we roll through the rest of that, then we can see how, because that front shoulder opened early, that sets our angle of rotation over here. And now we're just leaking a little bit of energy, a little bit of direction. So something we can be thinking of is as we're coming through this rotation here, instead of it being getting this over here and being here, thinking about coming through that front shoulder. Don't open that front shoulder to allow the space for the back shoulder to come through. Take the back shoulder straight through that front shoulder, straight through it. Our shoulders are starting here. We don't need to go here to have this come this way. We can just go straight, wham, here. So that will be very helpful for us to be able to get some extra life on our pitches as well. Be able to get that thing running and diving away from right-handed bats, and then be able to get ourselves nice and in on those lefties' hands so they can't extend their arms and get out in front on pitches as easily on that inner half. Other than that, we're looking pretty good. Our ability to flow down this mound is very nice. We're sitting into our backside well. Things are coming through. We're staying in our lane. We just work on keeping those shoulders back a little bit. Work on trying to keep that upper half from wanting to open as early. So we can think about, if I can keep this closed longer, the front shoulder will have less time and opportunity to open up. So if here's that central-ish part of your body, keeping this glove side, this elbow, and this wrist on the closed side of that line for as long as possible will help us keep our shoulders closed for as long as possible. But as soon as that glove and that elbow get outside that line, that front shoulder is going to get impacted as well. Bam. And then we're just a little opened early. Just losing out on a little bit of power and a little bit of movement opportunities. But all in all, we're looking real good, dude.